the temple of Poseidon. Poseidon, god of the sea, the most important god of the antiquity. Although god of the sea is the most important god for ancient Athenians because he was helping them so as to have their sailing and those activities, exporting their products. The coastline is dedicated to god Apollo, god of the sun, music and art. Ancient people believed that when someone is exposed to the sun for long periods, he gets wise, intelligent, handsome or beautiful and healthy. They knew that it's a good thing to be in the sun, although they didn't know of the existence of the vitamin D that we know that nowadays. So they loved the sun that much that they named the whole country of the sun. The Greek name of Greece is Hellas, written with an H. Hellas means Helios. Helios is the sun in Greece. It is the place where the sun shines a lot. Greece, Grecia, all those words are Roman words. They used them so as to call this country. We have about 330 sun shining days in Athens totally during the whole year round. It might seem interesting and nice to see the sun every day, but believe me, it's very, very tiring after a while, especially during the summertime that we have those high temperatures. Although it's very, very wonderful to have the sun shining when someone is on holidays, especially at the Greek islands. On our right, you're gonna see now the Mikrolimano, micro, like micro, microwave, microphone, means the small, it's the small harbor. You can see that the harbor is surrounded of little traditional houses with ceramic roofs. Fishermen boats docked here, they go fishing during the whole night long, and then here someone can consume these great specialties of the fishermen. And the Greek cuisine, one of the most macrobiotic cuisines of the world, the best way of eating because we have lots of vegetables and fish and olive oil used, which is a great antioxidant ingredient. But don't imagine that every Greek house has these very healthy recipes cooked every day. We also have junk food, lots of it. You have your cameras in hand. On our right, we're gonna see this wonderful view overlooking the last harbor of the day. The last harbor we're gonna see because totally we have 13 harbors and marinas around the city of Athens and Piraeus. We get to see only 4 with our tour today. That's the port of Phaleron. Phaleron means the port of gold because from here, ancient people used to do all this important financial activity so as to become very rich and wealthy. You see those mountains surrounding the city are full of metals. During the ancient times had lots of gold, but today they only have silver. Jewelry made of gold and silver is the touristic product of Greece at the moment. It's something that we export, and maybe you have seen at other destinations visiting in Greece. It's full of little jewelry shops. Jewelry makers of the entire world, they get inspired by the jewelry that we get to find when we excavate places like the one we are driving through now, and they are exposed at the archaeological museums. Tiffany, Bulgari, Cartier, Versace, all those artists, they have at least one collection called the classical collection, which is inspired by the classical world, the ancient Greek world, depicting the symbols of the gods, and especially the meander, the Greek key design. I'm going to show that to you when we arrive at the Acropolis. And they didn't only export jewelry from here, but objects, luxurious objects, and statues. For instance, we know that at the Acropolis of Athens, there was a statue depicting goddess Athena, about 12 meters high, made of 1,100 kilos of gold. And most of gods, they were depicted in golden statues because gold is a metal lasting forever, and gods were immortals. And this is how they made that collection. In the city of Athens especially, because they had access of silver, and it was a very soft metal, it couldn't be used so as to make armors and weapons. It wasn't that preferable to the Athenians. But around the 8th century before Christ, they decided to mint small discs of it, where they depicted the symbol of their city, which is the owl, the bird of wisdom. And they started giving one another that little piece of metal, wishing good luck and prosperity, and finally they end up using it as a coin, as a monetary system, and that was called the drachma. The drachma was the hardest monetary system of the ancient world, like the US dollar nowadays. And there isn't any ancient city at the entire Mediterranean Sea, European area, when we excavate, we don't get to find drachmas of the city of Athens with the owls depicted on it. This is how ancient cities used to do their propaganda. So every city was importing silver from Athens to mint their own coins, but every city had a different coin and a different symbol on it. I remind you that ancient people had different monetary systems because the value of the coin was the weight of the metal on it. Now we are driving through the city of Piraeus. We're leaving the city of Piraeus behind us and we are entering into the city of Athens. You are going to see on our left a stadium, which is the base of the soccer, if you're from the States, or the football team of Olympiakos. It's called Karaiskaki. It's one of the two most famous Greek football teams. And on the right we have the Peace and Friendship Stadium, which is actually the base of the basketball, the national basketball team of Greece. That's the rush hour of the day. As you can see, there is a little bit of traffic here. On our right, you're going to see the only place of the whole city of Athens where we have works done. They are going to make a new street connecting the port of Piraeus with the southern suburbs of the city of Athens. City of Athens is a huge city. You're going to realize that when we climb up the Acropolis hill that offers us a panoramic view. It looks like a wide sea all around the Acropolis. We only have low buildings like the ones that you can see around us now. We cannot construct more than 8 to 9, 10 floors maximum. And that's because of the height of the Acropolis, which is about 115 meters from the sea level. So all houses have to be shorter than the Acropolis. They prefer to paint houses here and buildings in bright colors, white or beige or light blue and yellow, and that's because of the too many sun-shining days and the high temperatures that we have in the summertime. It helps not to absorb all that heat, and that's why we characterize the city, the panoramic view of the city, as a wide sea. 480 square kilometers, the total surface of it, for 5 million of inhabitants. Half of the Greek population lives in Athens actually, and that's because of the touristic activities that they have their bases here. Most operators and agencies, they have their base here in Athens. And that movement happened in the 60s and the 70s when the massive touristic activity started, and every little Greek man left their villages so as to live here in Athens and work at the touristic field. And they did a nice thinking of doing that because the touristic field is what actually contributes a lot to the income of the country, especially nowadays with the financial crisis that is devastating the country. We left the coastline, the Apollonian coastline, behind us, and we are driving through the Sigrou Street now. Most of the buildings here are hospitals, like the Onassis Cardio Chirurgical hospital that we have on our left now, one of the most important in the whole world. Some of the most important surgeons operate in that hospital. And we'll have lots of hotels and naval companies and touristic business buildings at this street. It leads us directly to the historical center of the city, a small part of the city, because when Athens was chosen to be capital city of Greece, there were only 3,000 people living here. So nobody could imagine the 5 millions that they were about to live. And the historical center they prepared was just made for a small number of people. City of Athens took its name by goddess Athena. Athena was goddess of wisdom. She was a very, very beautiful, fair complexion, blonde-haired girl. According to the legend, she jumped out of her father's head, Zeus's head, and once she was born, she was full of her weapons. She was wearing a helmet, a shield, and a lance. She had very, very beautiful big blue eyes, and because in the city of Athens there is a species of owls with blue eyes, ancient people thought that owls are like the children of goddess Athena, and they were protecting people here. So she was very, very preferable to the citizens. According to the legend, Poseidon, god of the sea, wanted to be the leader of the city, but Athenians chose goddess Athena to be the leader of the city, and they named their country after her. And the reason why is because she had offered them, except from the blue-eyed owls, a branch of the olive tree, which is the symbol of peace. They realized that without peace they couldn't have any development here, any life going, and instead of the seawater symbolizing prosperity and wealth from the commercial activities through the seaways that Poseidon had offered, it was very, very important for them to choose the gift of goddess Athena. Athena and Athens is the same word in Greek. We pronounce Athena, both the city and the goddess. Actually, Athens is the plural of Athena, because for the first visitors that they came here, they saw that the whole city was full of temples dedicated to Athena. So many Athenas, many Athenses. And that's because Athenians really loved their goddess and they could praise her with any chance they had. But they also had temples dedicated to every other god. Don't imagine that ancient people really believed at the existence of gods when the movement of the philosophers started with Socrates and Plato and Aristoteles. They really knew that the imaginative gods that they were believing at were just fairy tales, but they needed a way so as to control people and make people have some idols, and that's why we have the creation of this very powerful religion of the ancient times that even nowadays exists. There are some Greeks that they believe that ancient gods existed. It's not an official religion, actually. The official religion of the country is Christianity. And I'm calling it an official because there are 98% of Greeks, they are Christians of the Orthodox order. So on the ID document of Greeks, it's also mentioned the religion, as if it's part of the identity of the person. About 1% of Greeks are Catholics and 1% all the rest of the religions. Most of the churches we're gonna see around the city, they are Orthodox churches, Christian Orthodox churches. So we are approaching at the historical center and at the Acropolis also. Acropolis, coming from the word acro, like acrobat, acrophobia, is the highest point of the city. So Acropolis was the first city of the ancient world of Greece. About 6,000 years ago, we have the traces of the first city organized there. It was protected completely because it was at the highest point of the hill. And after the 8th century before Christ, Acropolis became the religious center of Athens.